been married 36 years. I got this figured out. Sometimes you have to do the math on how long I've been married now. By the way, my wife Dina would normally come to an event like this. She's not able to be here today because on Monday she had my two grandsons at the White House for the egg roll thing. And so I was very envious. Monday night I was at the border of Arizona and Mexico out with the Border Patrol. She's at the White House, so she had a much better task than I did. And but what a treat it was for me last week to spend some time with my two sons and my two daughters-in-law and my two grandsons down in Nashville where they live. I spent Easter with them. I hadn't seen my young grandsons since Christmas time, and it was good to spend a little bit of time with them over the break. I did take 3 days off. I got a phone call a week ago Sunday at my office, and there was a message on it from one of my frequent antagonists. And she left a message, well, Congressman Ribble, I'm so glad to hear you're on vacation again. And so I kind of get a kick out of that, you know, and particularly the rhetoric from the White House about, you know, members of Congress being on recess and being on vacation from the golfer-in-chief. And, you know, it's just so surprising to me because when I'm in the district, I typically work 7 days a week, and so I don't take a lot of time off, but I'm not going to apologize for taking time off to see my grandkids, for crying out loud. You know, I mean, we're gonna go ahead and do that. You talk about the war on women, which is a big conversation lately. I will tell you, my wife was outraged to find out that when she was raising our two children as a stay-at-home mom, she wasn't working. I will guarantee you, there were many nights I came home from work, and she said, "Tag, you are it." You know, anybody? Yeah, you can relate to this one. Trying to raise two boys at home, I can't even imagine Ann Romney trying to raise 5 at a time. And I did come from a family of 8, so I have 5 older brothers and 2 adopted sisters. So I was the 6th son of 6 sons. And so, yeah, my mom was so disappointed with me that she decided to adopt daughters. And so I ended up with 2 sisters. When I was 5 years old, my parents adopted two girls from an orphanage in Bolivia. And so we had 2 sisters in my home as well growing up, but they were both a little bit older than I was, so I was able to maintain the baby and family status, which was really important for me. It was supposed to pay off, but it never really did. I finally figured out that after 8 kids, my parents finally got tired of raising children. But it was, I grew up in a terrific home. My father owned a very small roofing company located at the time in Nashville, Wisconsin. He was also the chaplain for Winnebago County Sheriff's Department. Not a lot of people know that. He was very committed to his faith, as my entire family is. I have 3 brothers who are pastors in churches, all over 5. I'm politicians, you can imagine what my dad thinks. And I've got 2 sons, and one of my sons is a pastor as well. I was at his church at Easter Sunday, so that was a real treat for me to be there. And so, thank you so much for being here today. I mean, what an honor it is for me to spend this time with you all. And I know that Dina would have loved to have been here. She's jealous that I'm in a room with 170 women, but that's okay. This is not all bad, I want you to know that. But what a treat it is for me to be here. Let me just bring you up a little bit up to speed on things that I've been working on, give you a little bit of my background. How many of you have been in a meeting where I've spoken before? Okay, so about half of you. So I've got some new folks. So let me just give you a little bit of my background, and then we'll talk a little bit about what I see coming up in the future here, particularly as it relates to Wisconsin and then to our country. But I decided to run in 2008, having never held political office at all. Matter of fact, I've not even been elected class president before. When I left high school, I went to divinity school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with the idea of going into full-time ministerial work, following the footsteps of my brothers and my father. But during that time while I was in divinity school, my father said, "Man, you're the youngest son. None of the boys want to take over the business. I want to expand some of my ministerial work. Would you come and take over the company?" At the time, we had 5 or 6 employees. And I decided to leave divinity school and go run my father's roofing company. A couple of years later, matter of fact, the day after Thanksgiving, he walked into my office, dropped the keys to the office on my desk, and said, "As of January 1st, you're in charge." And so that was our transition plan. And, so I took over, and then by about 1990, we'd grown from 500 employees to 120, and the place had kind of taken off and was doing fairly well. And the work on the Pentagon, she mentioned the work in the Pentagon. Most Americans are not aware that after 9/11 happened, that the U.S. roofing industry, which I played a fairly significant role in 2005, I was president of the National Roofing Contractors Association. We donated that roof to the American people. All of us together collectively provided manpower and labor and the financial resources to do that. It required an act of Congress, by the way. We approached the government and said, we'd like to provide this multi-million-dollar roofing project for free. The government is not allowed to accept gifts. So it required an act of Congress for us to give the government a brand new roof on part of the Pentagon that was blown up by the airplane. And so, but what a treat to have played a very small role in that project. And I spent my life running my roofing company, and in 2008, the big financial meltdown happened. Things are going good in my company, continue to go good. My nephew Troy bought the company from me in 2009. And it continues to grow and prosper and all the good things that you'd want for your family and for your business. But I was frustrated. And so I decided that I could be frustrated and not do anything about it, or I could be frustrated and try to do something about it. You know, at some point, you get to a place in your life where you have to begin to make decisions. I was at one of those crossroads where I was very discouraged by what was going on. If you remember the history of it, the housing crisis happened, all the financial markets kind of melted down, and the American people swept President Barack Obama into office, gave the keys of U.S. Secretary Reid, gave the keys to the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, and I was very, very concerned. I would voice that concern to my family. My oldest son finally said to me, he said, Dad, if you always told me that if I didn't like my circumstance in life, I was responsible to change it. So, Dad, if you don't like the circumstance in life that you see, you are responsible to go change it. Otherwise, a year from now, you'll come back to Nashville for a great Christmas dinner, and you will complain, and nothing will have changed. And you want to know what? He was exactly right. Up to that point in my life, I was happy being a roofing contractor, happy being a dad and a granddad, happy being married to my wife, and happy running my company. But I thought about it, I prayed about it, my wife and I spoke about it, my children and I talked about it. It's a big decision to decide to run for Congress, especially when you have no experience whatsoever. I did have experience in marketing products, I became the product, as opposed to some type of roofing system being a product. I was the product. So I could do that, I understand the marketing side of it. And I decided to do this. And I will tell you, it's been both the most frustrating and rewarding thing I've done. It is a, how do I want to say this? It is a nice thing when people respect what you do. It's a nice thing. And that aspect of it is rewarding. Now, only about 50% of the 8th District respects what I do. But for those 50%, thank you very much. But it's also a frustrating thing when people don't tell the truth. How many of you think we need truth tellers in Washington? We need truth tellers in Washington. And I want you to know, you're not getting the truth out of Washington. You are not getting the truth out of Washington. And I want you to know that sometimes it's Republicans not telling the truth either. You know, a half-truth or a part-truth that leaves someone believe something different than what is truthful is the same as just telling someone a flat-out lie. And so we're getting that. And I see it and I get frustrated. I went into this position very, very cynical. And there hasn't been a whole lot that I've seen that's made me less cynical. You need to know that. But we can change things in America. It is totally up to us to do this. I mean, who would have imagined? Who would have imagined? And so be careful now when you think about this, because this could be you someday. Who would have imagined that a roofing contractor from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, who had never held public office, who doesn't have a college degree, would become a U.S. Congressman? Stop and think about that.